And welcome to the August 18th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Waterboro Planning Board. Tonight we'll be speaking with the town planner regarding a zoning amendment concerning bulk fuel storage and a contract zone request. Just to note that the code enforcement officer, Mike Gilpatrick, could not be here tonight, so the ordinance changes that were on the agenda will be removed and will be rescheduled for another meeting. But before we kick things off, we'll ask Angela to please call the roll of the board.
Clyde Smith.
Here.
David Christensen.
Here.
Edward Zelmanow.
I'm present.
Lori Anthony.
Yes.
Rebecca Higgins.
Here.
Diane Gray.
Here.
Absent is Devin Chamberlain.
Great, thanks Angela. Seeing as we have 6 members on the board, we're able to proceed with our quorum. First item that we're going to discuss are the minutes from the June 21st meeting. Hopefully all members of the board were able to receive a copy and had an opportunity to look at it. Any changes or edits that anybody noticed or need to be done?
You know I do.
Lori?
First off, we didn't vote in June, so that's July 22nd.
July 21st?
I mean 21st.
Typo within a typo.
My brain saw July 21st, but said something different. Okay, Angela. The other thing, under old business, we also reviewed the findings of fact for 746 Secocas Trail marijuana grow only facility. There are only minor changes to 11, 15, and items 11, 15, and 16. David made the motion to approve the findings of fact as corrected. Diana seconded the motion. No further discussion. I know I'm too thorough. 4-0 in favor.
Why do I feel like I'm missing a page?
Okay. The rest of it was fine. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Lori. Any other changes anybody caught? All right, are there any objections to accepting the minutes as written, edited, and distributed? All right, hearing none, the minutes will be accepted. Moving on then to the first item regarding our zoning amendment, bulk fuel storage. We'll have VJ, our town planner, present this to us, and then we can open it for discussion.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I am in person for the first time in almost 2 years, I guess, right? Some of you I've met and some of you I haven't met. So I am Jay Feldman. I'm, at least for the time being, the town planner, and have been trying to serve you folks as best I can with many other communities as well. So if you don't know, I work for Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, which is the regional planning commission for York County and Southern Oxford County. And we serve 39 communities, so I am bouncing all over the place with multiple tasks for multiple communities. And Waterboro is one that I have served for 7 years now, I think. Anyway, so yes, there's an application, or an applicant had requested of the select board an amendment to the AR zone. The AR zone covers most of the land in the town, most area in the town. And along Route 5 as well. The request is to add bulk propane and as well as propane storage, propane exchange stations to the use category. As I explain in here, there is a use category already called bulk oil, gasoline storage, cement mixing, and general construction facilities. And the request would be to add bulk propane and the exchange servers to that category. That category is a conditional use in the village zone, believe it or not, as well as the general purpose GP zone. A particular person requesting this has a business in the AR zone and is looking to be able to expand their business options to include bulk storage of propane, which they would be required to come back to the planning board for approval in the future if it's allowed under the conditional use process. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think I keep it pretty basic for this. The recommendation that I'm making to you folks, and you're not required to take it by any means, would be to add propane and propane exchange stations to the current definition, as I noted on the front page of the memo, and add the amended definition to the conditional use list in the AR zone, and update the village and the general purpose zone to include that wording as well. That would make it consistent in those three zones for the uses that would be allowed. Sir?
So, what I want to do is just make sure I understand.
Yes.
We're making a general across-the-board change to the AR zone, saying this is an acceptable use.
Conditional use.
Yes, subject to the conditional use.
Correct. So anything that would want to be done in that regards would need to come back to the planning board with a conditional use or a site plan
And
review.
in all our other zoning categories, we already permit this. Is that pretty much correct?
Permit bulk gasoline storage. You do not include bulk propane storage.
Okay, but within the flammable
Correct.
fossil fuels.
Yes, yes. That use is already
It's generally.
allowed. That use is already allowed in the GP and village zones.
Okay, thank you.
Lee J, you're recommending adding propane and propane exchange. They had also asked for propane fill as well. Is that encompassed in
That
one
would
of
be
those two
encompassed within,
definitions?
yeah, that would be encompassed
Okay.
within the exchange type of
Okay.
situation where they filled little 5-gallon tanks, for example.
Right.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I just have a question about exact terminology again, Jay.
Sure.
Can you go back to that? The bulk storage of propane is what
Yes.
you're adding
Yes. Bulk propane and exchange.
and exchange?
Yes,
Okay.
and exchange stations. It's, the exact wording is underlined under recommendation number 1.
Okay, there are three specifics there. It's bulk storage, bottle fill,
Yep.
and a bottle exchange cage. So almost like the Blue Lagoon.
Correct.
Yeah,
Kind
that
of
Blue
thing.
Rhino thing.
Blue,
that you said.
blue
Yeah,
rhino
we're just
thing,
trading
yes,
tanks.
correct. That would be under the exchange process.
Okay. So three-part.
Correct.
Check.
Yes. This would also need a public hearing, which has not been advertised yet. So we wanted to introduce the use to you and then set a date for the public hearing, hopefully soon, in front of you folks before your recommendation goes back to the select board, of which they too will hold a public hearing on that item.
How long would the public need to be noticed before the public hearing can take place?
That would come under the general public hearing notification. I want to say, I'm going to look at Angela, but I want to say that's a 7-day
Yes,
notification.
that's
Yeah.
All right, so we would have time to get it on for September 1st then? Okay.
Are we going to meet on September 1st?
Well, if we're putting this on for public hearing, we are.
Yeah. I was just saying.
Believe you have a
close to
joint
the-
You've got a workshop that day too.
Yes.
Right, with the
With
With the select.
selectmen.
Yeah,
All right, so we'll be here anyway.
correct.
So September 1st sounds good for the public hearing unless anybody has a reason why we shouldn't.
I guess do we know what time that joint workshop is?
I believe, and I would have to double check tomorrow, I believe it's 5 o'clock.
I'm sorry?
I believe it's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock,
I
okay,
should
so
have
it
it
would
on
be
my
before the normal
calendar.
planning board meeting anyway. Okay,
Yeah, it's at 5.
okay.
And are are we going to be getting what the new zoning language would look like?
Certainly, I can provide that to you for the public hearing, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, is there anything further on this item? All right, great. And we'll keep BJ chained where he is and go into the contract zone request.
Yes, so this is not something that this board or the town sees on a regular basis, although it's been in the zoning ordinance for quite some time. And that is the allowance of contract or conditional use zoning. Contract and conditional use zoning is something that there is enabling legislation under state land use regulation laws, under home rule regulations, and it allows for that to occur. So under contract zoning or conditional use zoning, there are several items within the state law that the applicant needs to be able to do in order to provide or show that they're consistent with the state law. And that is A, be consistent with the growth management program adopted under this chapter. B, establish rezoned areas that are consistent with the existing and permitted uses within the original zones of the town. And C, only include conditions and restrictions that relate to the physical development or operation of the property. So as part of this whole process, I'm going to kind of ad-lib now, but as part of this whole process, the applicant was requested to develop an actual contract, which I believe you folks got as part of the submission tonight. And they would have to live within the means of that contract if we go through the process and the project is approved. What they're seeking, and I'm going to let them actually talk a little bit about what they're seeking, but a lot of it has to do with density. And as a contract zone, we the town would be allowing them to do certain things that aren't allowed in the current zones there, specifically in this case with density allowances. But in return, there are certain things that they would be doing for the town to make that property and the surrounding properties better, if you will, more accessible and other things. So what you folks are charged with doing will be to listen to the applicant, hold a public hearing on the contract zone proposal, make a recommendation, which will go back to the select board. The select board would then hold another public hearing and either vote to approve the contract or not approve the contract. The contract within itself, as well as the state law, would then requires the applicant to come back before this board with an actual plan, conditional use plan in this case, site plan that outlines all of the transportation, stormwater, all of the typical things that you review under development projects. And so they would have to come back with a plan for your review and approval specifically to the site once the contract is in place. And they have to live within the means and agreement of the contract as it relates to anything and everything that they are proposing. I think that's kind of a general overview. I have outlined in my memo for you how they've met, or how I believe they have met A, B, and C, which is not in the zoning ordinance, but it is in the state law. And so that's part of the memo. I can go through that if you'd like, and if not, I'm fine with that as well. And I can sit down and let the applicant speak a little bit to you about what they're seeking, and then we can set a date for the public hearing on that contract zone as well.
Great, thanks, Lee J. One quick question: has the town attorney had the opportunity to review the agreement?
The town attorney has not only reviewed the agreement, but established the final language.
Great, great.
Working with the applicant's attorney as well.
Questions, comments from the board? So here tonight we're looking to basically finalize our recommendation back to the selectmen regarding the agreement.
No. Tonight's basically just an introduction of this whole
Okay.
process and the project
Right.
to you. We'll need to set a date for the public hearing, and then hold the public hearing and make the recommendation at that point back to the select.
Right, but we're trying to get the agreement language set for the public hearing, so this way it's not changing before then.
Correct. We're in hopes that where both attorneys from both sides have been very much involved, that language is not going to change, because then it would
Right.
be required to go back to the attorneys for review. But that's certainly up to this board. And you would only be making a recommendation to the select board regarding those changes.
Right, and like you said, that's where they can either accept it, deny it, or they can even amend it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, but that's the select board's purview,
Right.
not ours. Yep.
Anything from the board on this?
I think
Anything
there's
from
a
the public?
lot- I think there's a lot to understand this.
Yes.
So I know you didn't want to talk about your summarization of A, B, and C, but I kind of would like to hear that,
Certainly.
if that's all right.
I can do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So under the state law, as I mentioned quickly, there are A through C, which are things that they need to be able to meet. Excuse me. One would be consistent with the growth management program adopted under this chapter. So the growth management program basically is your town's comprehensive plan. And so are they consistent with the town's comprehensive plan? And what I wrote was that the town has a comprehensive plan adopted in the town in 2012. A major piece of this plan was the establishment of the village areas of the town, which there are several: north, central, east, and south. This location falls just outside the area described not in as an in, but in, I stuttered there, sorry, in the comprehensive plan as East Village. The plan shows an area that includes the Goodall Professional Park, just adjacent to the proposed contract zone property. For planning purposes, the property makes perfect sense to be included as part of the village area. Remember, the comprehensive plan is a planning document and not a regulatory document or ordinance. A vision for Waterboro villages is a well-done planning document which, with the description and definitions of what you want from a village area in your community, and was adopted as part of the comprehensive plan approved by the citizens of Waterboro. B is the established rezoned areas that are consistent with the existing and permitted uses within the original zones. The property under consideration is currently zoned village and agricultural residential. The use allowed in both zones is residential as proposed. The issue is that the applicant is seeking higher density than currently allowed in the village zone. The town's village zone only allows a density of 40,000 square feet per unit, while the AR zone is at 80,000 square feet per unit. That pretty much 40,000 is 1 acre, 80,000 is 2 acres, plus or minus. The village area allows for 20,000 square feet on some uses, but not residential, which runs contrary to a village zone. The proposed use is consistent with current zoning uses. So the uses are consistent, it's the density allowance. And in village zones, when you talk about densities, you're usually wanting smaller lots, closer together, higher amount of people living in closer quarters. In Waterboro, the village zone has always run contrary, and as some board members know, we've talked for several years about changing our village district issues because it creates or encourages sprawl. It doesn't encourage a village. And C only includes conditions and restrictions that relate to the physical development or operation of the property. The proposal that you will review with the applicant is consistent with this requirement. Both Natalie Burns, the town's attorney, and I have been involved in this process of making sure the applicant request meets the requirements of the law. And I haven't gone any further into depth than that, but everything that they're proposing would meet the requirements of the law and the town's regulations. That's all I have.
Thank you.
At this time.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear, the contract zone is for a specific area, it doesn't have any impact outside of this particular contract and this particular proposal.
That is correct. It is only for this property and no place else.
But it's not necessarily for a particular use. Like if they wanted to develop apartment buildings, but in a different manner, they could still do it based upon, because all we're doing basically through the contract zone is increasing the density in the area by lowering the
Correct.
lot requirements.
Yes, and they're providing, I believe you may have, even have it in your packet, a concept plan. However, when they come back for an actual site plan conditional use permit, that may change, I don't know, but you're only dealing with the density allowances. You're not dealing with what the site will look like at this time.
Right, exactly. So even though it's in the contract zone, what they're proposing to develop, they're not held to that.
Correct.
Okay.
As long as they don't exceed anything within the
Right.
contract when it's time for the planning board to review and approve an actual development project.
And further to that, I believe I read that should, by the time they're ready to proceed with development, they have, the property has changed hands. The contract zoning would carry over to the new builder or construction plan that would still have to come before the planning.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, it runs with
So
the land.
it owns, it's the contract zone that would have this,
That is correct. That is correct. And
not
what
the
will happen?
individual's applicant.
And what will happen, if we get down the road far enough on this, is the zoning map would actually change to show that area as a contract zone.
And there's a limit on here that they need to obtain approval from us within 2 years from the agreement. Is there any limitation as to, once they obtain that approval, when construction and development has to begin?
All of that still, I believe the way the contract is written, all of the underlying regulations within the zoning ordinance still apply.
Okay.
And so any deadlines for construction of that would fall under the current zoning ordinance regulations.
All right.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
So far.
Anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this?
No public.
Mr. Chairman, planning board members, I'm Michael Rogers. I'm a real estate agent with the Bean Group in South Portland. I'm a Portland native and resident. I am David Alves' real estate agent. We have the project that I spend too much time, but I enjoy doing these little brochures, and it explains the project that David has. A little history about the project. It comprises 3 tax maps, 2 properties. David acquired 200 Main Street. I believe it was in 2020. That's the old farmhouse, and that would be the account number 499, lot 50. That's 5.04 acres. Then last year he acquired, that land, it was bisected by an old railroad. So David bought one piece of land which had 2 non-connecting tax maps. That would be lot 51, and that is an unimproved 13.53 acres. So the key here was we had a puzzle, the missing piece. And David acquired that last year, and that's the small 0.86 of an acre, and that is the former, a piece of the former Boston and Maine Railroad. Collectively, it's 19.43 acres, and our plan is to develop the front portion, which is all part of the village district. And just from a context standpoint, so we have 19.43 acres. The impervious surface that is covered by the structures and the parking lot and walkways will be about 1.9 acres, or about 10% of the entire project. So the vast majority of the project will be green space. It will not be disturbed. And that is in the back of the property, as you can tell. Actually, this is better than this one. Well, I can't see it, but it's behind this whole expanse on the other side of the railroad track. We are seeking public water, and we'll have private septic. We envision the septic would be in the little triangle space. Well, community green is where the engineer has anticipated that the septic system would be in. And we're looking at doing a pre-treatment, which helps to reduce the leach field size. Technology just helps to make everything more efficient. And what we plan, our goal was with the contract zone, it is an agreement. We give and we receive. And what we want to do is have a system or a series of walking trails, a dog park for the tenants. We don't want to not include tenants with dogs. We want to have any other items that we can consider. Again, a significant green space, just to really make it fit in with the town. Another requirement is that we're going to create a path or some type of trail or walking area to the hospital next door. What we liked was your 2012 vision of Waterboro, and you had touched upon it. And it's really nice, the section on East Waterboro. And yes, it is just outside that circle, the quarter-mile circle. But this is what we propose really dovetails with what was envisioned 9 years ago. And any questions?
Questions? Go on, Mark.
That's already forgot, I'm not chairman.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, go ahead.
Just to clarify, the walking trails in the dog park, is that for our tenants only?
You know what? The dog park, I believe, would be for the tenants. We have not considered that. I believe it would be just for the tenants. Again, I don't believe David or I will be standing there as the dog keeper. But that would, we believe it would be, well, we haven't discussed it, but I believe it would be for the tenants.
But the walking trails of...
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the contract zone under number 1C, one of the things that it says, excuse me, it says in there is, safe pedestrian access shall be provided at the expense of the developer from residential, okay, that's from the property to the medical facility.
Yeah, that's to the medical facility.
AMA orders approved a signage shall grant to the town an easement to access the old railroad bed through the property. In the event that additional portions of the old railroad bed should be in the future become available for public access, DMA or its approved assignee shall construct a gravel parking area with no more than 5 vehicles in an area where access to the old railroad bed can be provided. So there is opportunity for future access to that area for walking trails.
For the walking trails.
Cool.
I
know code enforcement side of it, there is a huge request or constantly being asked for, is there a dog park in town?
There is.
But
On
I was
Federal
just
Street.
asking if there was
Right.
another one.
yeah, but
There's one on Federal Street.
I realize that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that's a question that is asked a lot in the office.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe BJ knows this, somebody knows this. From where the parcel is towards Hannaford, is there a sidewalk going along Main Street?
No.
I do not believe there's sidewalk.
Is that something that you would consider doing to help out the residents?
Across the property,
Because one of your big things talking about is by putting these 3 apartment buildings there, is that they're going to have access to
Right.
facilities in the area.
So part of the problem with that would be that road is a state road.
Right,
And
yeah.
they would need to obtain DOT approval to do
Right.
anything like that, not the town. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on. No, go ahead.
He's just, he forgot to. But yeah, but with this, because I know DOT stepped in with the convenience store. Will DOT be looking at this entry also?
They would need to file a change of use application with the DOT for their access. I do not believe the trip generation will be enough to trip a
that.
DOT traffic permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just brought up the sidewalk because I know when the application comes in down the road, that's something I would bring up. So I figured let's bring it up now and get it out there. Do you know if DOT would be open to something like that? Would the applicant be open to that? Because, like I said, part of this whole contract zoning and increasing the density is to put the people where the resources are, the water, the roads, the commercial businesses that are in the area. So to put this number of people there and expect them to walk in the roadway itself can be very dangerous to the pedestrians and to the drivers, to the public. So that's why I brought up sidewalks, and I don't know how open DOT is to granting us. I don't see why they would say no, but they're DOT. They don't put lights where there should be lights.
Of course, yeah, I'm not sure. I can't speak for the DOT. Have not had any conversation with them regarding that.
Right.
It appears there is sidewalk in front of near Napa, in that area.
No.
No,
It
it's a
isn't?
very,
Okay.
no.
So then it would be, I scaled it off from Google, it's about .21 from the intersection to the property line. So, yeah,
Yeah, just something to think about that
1,000 feet.
when you do put in your project application. See what the distance would be from where your development is to the light, or at least towards Hannaford, and what the expense would be, and just throw that into the
Okay.
plan. This way we have an idea. So that way you can't say, no, it's cost prohibitive, and we're like, okay, well, what are the numbers? This way at least you'll have numbers. if it
Stephen
is.
Blaze, that's a great point. Stephen Blaze, the civil engineer, he researched that. There's one omission I forgot, is that we also are asking, it is a mixed use. So we're looking for 36 residential units, and then a small commercial building of approximately 3,000 square feet in the front along the road.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
not on here right now? That's not what's shown on here, right? We just have the 3 buildings, four parking lots, and looks like, I think that's a service garage in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like they.
Oh, okay, so that's different. That's,
Yeah, you have it when we came.
yeah, that's vastly different than what we have.
Right now.
The contract does not mention anything about commercial use.
Yeah, that's,
Ed, you want to pass that down to me and I'll
Yep,
make copies
yep.
real quick for everybody?
So if that's a late addition, that's gonna need to go back to the select board.
This is what is the date of this one?
That was presented to the select board.
So the one that I mentioned was the one presented to the select board?
The one I just gave.
The new-
This one?
Yep.
Okay, I was not.
And that was requested from the select board, if I could fit in.
Is that the same
In-
one that Laura sent me the other day?
No.
In a July
I sent you
meeting,
what they
they
showed
asked
me.
us if you could come back, and we'd like to see mixed use. And that was which I incorporated in
We see
the
it in
because
the-
that's not in the,
So
because it's
you
not,
incorporated this?
David's
it's in this
attorney
letter,
with
right?
the
but it's not in the
right?
contract zoning agreement.
The select.
That's
It's a sort of a,
That's the issue.
by the way,
Commercial space up front.
They sought the mixed use.
Does that need to be a part of the contract zone agreement, or is the mixed use permissible under the current zoning? since we're just reducing density for the residential, is the commercial increasing density? Yeah, we're decreasing the size, the square footage of the residential use, so it's increased
So
density,
retail
reduced.
shops and service stores is a permitted use in the village zone.
Okay,
So that doesn't not necessarily have to be part of the
Right.
contract, but
We felt it was better just to include it, just to be
Yeah.
all encompassing.
yeah, I know it'll be part of the plan. I don't think it needs to be part of the zoning agreement, since we're just increasing the density for the residences. And since the underlying zone allows the mix, the commercial and the residential, it doesn't need to be approved
correct,
by anybody. Okay, all right.
correct.
I'm sorry,
what-
did we know what the commercial building is for?
No, you don't know. It's just a commercial building
I
for a future
understand, I just
tenant.
didn't know
Yeah.
if they.
It's really what the market
I
will
understand.
tell us. If it's office or retail. When David first asked me a few weeks ago, and I said, well, David, I know one thing, it will not be a drive-through coffee. There are already two down the street, so it won't be a Roma Joe's or Dunkin'
Understood.
Donuts.
I didn't know if there was
Yeah.
somewhat of a talk or a plan.
We would love to have retail or whoever qualified tenant, whether it's commercial, office, or retail, or business service.
And these aren't rental units. These are condos or whatever might
We
be for sale.
anticipate them as rental units.
Rental units?
Yes.
What are you anticipating for an average rental?
So they're going to be a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units. Haven't done that research yet.
Okay.
I don't want to say a number because I may misrepresent.
Right.
So,
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this is the...
David, thank you.
All right. So, other than the first whereas, which now includes the 31,000 square foot commercial unit, is there anything else in here that's different from what we
That was-
originally
No,
got?
that was 1,000 square foot.
Oh, three 1,000 square foot commercial units in one building? Okay. So you're gonna have 3 rentals in there. All right. So it should be like 3-1,000 square foot. That's why it doesn't look like. All right. Other questions, comments from the board? Otherwise, we can set this up for public hearing as well,
Correct,
I believe.
yes.
Would it make it easy just to have it on the same, or does this require different notice?
Different
All right, so this would have to go for at least September 15th meeting,
Yes.
because I think it's a 2-week notification period on this,
Yeah, it's,
instead of a 7-day?
correct. It is. People can't go down it by looking.
I think Angela wrote it down.
Did you write it down?
Yeah, it has to be 13 days prior to the public hearing, published twice, with one of them being at least within 7 days. So I don't have enough time to get it, we don't have enough time to get it, but,
Yeah, I don't think we can publish it twice before the 15th, yeah.
so we have to go through.
So the first meeting after the 15th,
October.
yeah,
I can
into
get it for
October,
the
1, 2,
15th, I
3,
can't get it
4.
for the first.
Which is the
She can get it
6th,
for
which is the...
Well, so September 15 would work.
Oh,
I
would-
can get it for
okay,
the 15th, I
okay.
can't get it for the first.
Right, okay. All right, so let's shoot for the 15th for the public hearing. All right, anything further from anybody on this item? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, next are a couple of quick communications. We've got the Jensen Baird Seminar. They're the town attorneys, they're the town firm. Every 2 years, they put on a seminar to just let people know about changes to land use laws and also municipal laws itself. And also the MMA Seminar. Holiday Inn by the Bay, which I would suggest to anybody who's never really done planning board work before and would like to learn what it's all about and how we basically conduct business of the board. Under miscellaneous, date corrections for September.
So back on, what was it, November, I gave you guys a list, and I have them for the, what was it, the 8th and the 22nd, it should actually be the 1st and the 15th.
Okay. All right, which is what we showed. Okay, so
Yeah.
September 1st and September 15th, which are the two hearings,
Yeah.
public hearings we're doing. All right. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? Lori?
During the vote for officers, something came up as saying that our new planning board bylaws had been accepted and adopted on June 2nd, which it couldn't have been done because we didn't have a workshop. We moved that workshop to further out. According to our new bylaws, and not to be a stickler for procedure, we need a secretary.
Okay, so the amended bylaws were not adopted yet, which would have removed the position of secretary.
And I reviewed the May 29th video, and there was a lot of discussion, but we had agreed on several items. Lee J was going to, which he did, get us the new ones, but where we were so busy on the June meetings, it fell through the wayside.
Excuse me, and did the draft bylaws that you have include the secretary position?
No,
No.
it's been removed.
It's interesting because I've got it in my notes on bylaws.
But the
And
new
it says-
ones, they removed it.
It says, add secretary, shall review all minutes of the meeting.
Yeah,
sign
and you had gotten an older version, because I had a newer revision than you did, and secretary was in the newer version. So we went back and forth on it.
Right.
And once we found out that there was a secretary, because I served as secretary,
Right.
Diana served as secretary.
Correct.
So we had voted to get rid, we had agreed, consensus was to remove that secretary position with the new bylaws, slated for this year.
Right.
But under our last,
So what you're saying though is under the last set of bylaws that
Right.
you operated under, there was a secretary.
Correct.
But in the new ones that you discussed,
We're getting rid of it.
You're removing it.
correct.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
Those new bylaws
But
weren't
they weren't
adopted
adopted.
But they
yet.
weren't
They've never been
adopted.
adopted.
They haven't yet,
Correct.
and I suspect they'll be adopted the next time
So
we
your
can
point
speak.
is-
My
so your
point
point
is
is
we
you
need a
still have secretary.
we still need, in order to fulfill our bylaws, we need a
Right.
secretary.
Well, understand though, the bylaws are not a regulation.
Okay.
The bylaws are only a guidance for the board to use as it relates to business for the board.
Okay,
So if there's been a major changeover on the board since we discussed that, but in theory, if there's still agreement to get rid of it, let's just get those new bylaws back on the agenda and adopted.
okay,
Yeah.
so basically all we have to do is, do we want a secretary?
I mean, it would be
Well, we
fruitless
can
to-
put it on our next agenda, our next meeting
Yeah.
agenda to discuss it, and if we feel that it should be on there, then that night we can elect a secretary, but if, as a board, we feel there's no need for that position, then we can either remove it from the bylaws or just decide as a board, we just don't want to
No, we're
elect
already-
somebody as a
we're-
secretary.
In the new version, we are removing
Okay.
the secretary position. Our old bylaws, which is a guide,
Right.
there is a secretary position.
What yours basically stating is we're still under those old bylaws.
Right. And, if we follow our old bylaws, we were supposed to vote for a secretary.
Like
If it's a general guidance, then fine. If everybody feels we don't need one at this time,
Right.
regardless of what our old bylaws, that's fine with me.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make a point that
Yeah, so
we haven't
we'll put it on
adopted.
the next meeting agenda, and we'll discuss it, and we'll resolve it and wrap it all up there. Either we'll walk away with a secretary or no secretary and amended and adopted bylaws.
Correct.
Right.
There's no point in it if we're going to get rid of it.
And just so some of the other board members understand, the reason for that discussion basically is that, and the town's attorney had discussed it previously, is that boards do not need to approve minutes. You can accept the minutes, you don't have to approve the minutes.
Right.
Angela is the secretary by default, basically, so she prepares the minutes, so there's not a real need for a secretary to be a board position. And that's how we got to where we're at with this discussion.
And other than the fact we still need to tie up.
Tie up consent, basically.
Yeah, review it and write off on it. Yeah, that's
Do like everybody else does, blame it to COVID.
okay. I wasn't going to blame anything. I was just trying to follow through on items.
Is there anything further that needs to come before the board? All right, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Yeah. Moved by David. Do we have a second? Second. All right, we got a second by Rebecca down there. All in favor? We have 6 yeas. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.